This winter storm is doing something meteorologists rarely see. And if you live anywhere from the Dakotas to the Northeast, if you're planning to drive through Iowa or Illinois in the next 24 hours, what's about to happen could catch you completely off guard. Even if you think you're prepared for winter weather, you're not prepared for this. Here's the number that should stop you in your tracks: 50 degrees below average. That's how cold it's going to get by this weekend. Not a typo. Not an exaggeration. 50 degrees colder than normal. We're talking about temperatures of -30 degrees in the Midwest, wind chills down to -50, the kind of cold that causes frostbite in under 5 minutes. But that's not the strange part. The strange part is what's happening right now in Iowa and Illinois. A blizzard is forming. But here's the twist. It's not snowing. Not a single flake falling from the sky. Yet visibility is dropping to zero. Roads are becoming completely impassable. And drivers have no idea it's coming until they're already in it. In 30 seconds, I'm going to reveal what a ground blizzard is and why it's more dangerous than a regular blizzard. And at 3 minutes and 20 seconds, I'll show you the exact timeline of when this invisible threat will peak and which highways you need to avoid at all costs. Let's start with what's happening right this second across the upper Midwest. Because this storm is already underway, and it's intensifying faster than forecast models predicted just 6 hours ago. Right now, freezing rain is falling across North Dakota and northern South Dakota. Not snow, freezing rain. That means every surface is being coated with a layer of ice. Roads, power lines, tree branches, everything. And when you get 1/10 of an inch of ice on a power line, that line comes down. When you get ice on a road surface, that road becomes a skating rink. Simultaneously, a band of snow showers is moving across the Great Lakes. Light to moderate snow, nothing too crazy yet, but that's about to change, dramatically. By late this morning, early this afternoon, we're going to see a rapidly intensifying low-pressure system develop in the northern plains. And when I say rapidly intensifying, I mean it. This system is going to explode. The pressure is going to drop fast. The winds are going to increase fast. And the snow is going to ramp up fast. Minnesota and North Dakota, by early afternoon, you're going to see moderate to heavy snow, and it's going to become a big concern very quickly. We're not talking about a gradual increase. We're talking about going from light flurries to heavy snow in under an hour. Here's where it gets complicated. By 4 to 5 p.m., southeastern Minnesota, near Owatonna, even back over near Minneapolis, you're going to get freezing rain. Not snow, freezing rain. In the middle of a winter storm, that creates slick spots on the roadway that are almost impossible to see and impossible to drive on safely. During rush hour tonight, heavy snow is going to ramp up across Duluth and even near Minneapolis. Now, Minneapolis, you're mostly going to see freezing rain, but there might be a brief transition to snow right around 5 p.m. If you're north of the city, you have a much higher chance of that transition happening. By 6 p.m., light snowfall is going to reach Wausau, Wisconsin. And then by 7 to 8 p.m., that snow is going to drape all of Wisconsin, Milwaukee area, Green Bay, all across northern Wisconsin, covered in snow. And we're not talking about light snow. We're talking about heavy snowfall with snowfall rates as high as 3 inches per hour. 3 inches per hour. That means in a 2-hour span, you could have 6 inches of snow on the ground. Roads can't be cleared fast enough. Plows can't keep up. Traffic comes to a standstill. And that's when accidents happen. Now here's something critical you need to understand. There's a pink area on the radar that extends from Minneapolis back to the Illinois and Wisconsin border. That pink color means freezing rain. And that freezing rain is going to accumulate into ice. Some locations could see as much as a 20th to a 10th of an inch of ice. That might not sound like much, but a 10th of an inch of ice is enough to cause slick spots. It's enough to cause very isolated power outages late tonight, and it's enough to make tomorrow morning's commute absolutely treacherous. By the overnight hours, snow is mostly going to be happening across northern Wisconsin, the upper peninsula of Michigan, and almost all of Michigan. Light to moderate snowfall overnight, and a little bit of light snow will continue back near Minneapolis. If you don't see snow in Minneapolis during the afternoon today, there's a slightly better chance overnight. But it's going to be quick hitting and it's not going to accumulate to much more than 1 to maybe 2 inches at most. Wednesday morning, that snow is going to be moving across the Great Lakes toward Ontario. Light to moderate snowfall all across the Northeast on Wednesday. But here's the thing. This isn't the big story for the Northeast. This system is only going to add a few inches of snow. maybe 2 to 4 inches for most of you. The real story comes later. At the 5-minute mark, I promised you something. Here it is. The phenomenon that makes this storm so dangerous and so unusual. Ground blizzards. Most people think a blizzard requires heavy snow falling from the sky. Wrong. A ground blizzard happens when you already have snow on the ground and high winds come through and whip that snow into the air. The result? Blizzard conditions, whiteout conditions, near zero visibility, all without a single snowflake falling from the sky. And that's exactly what's about to happen across Iowa and Illinois. Here's why this is so dangerous. You could be driving on a clear day, sun might even be out, sky is blue, no precipitation. You think conditions are fine, and then suddenly, within seconds, you can't see the road, you can't see other cars, you can't see anything. Whiteout, complete whiteout. This is happening because of the winds, extremely strong winds. We're talking about wind gusts widespread between 50 to 70 miles per hour across Iowa, 50 to 70. That's tropical storm force to hurricane force winds, with snow on the ground. When winds that strong blow across snow-covered terrain, they pick up that snow and carry it, and in open areas, in rural areas, on highways with flat fields on either side, that snow has nowhere to go except across the road, creating a wall of white, a moving wall that appears out of nowhere. Wednesday morning could be extremely hazardous on the roadways across Iowa, Illinois, northern Missouri, and Nebraska. Anywhere there's snow already on the ground. We could have blizzard-like conditions all across Iowa, and this is something that happens every single winter. But it's not talked about enough. So I'm telling you right now, if you're in the Midwest where there's snow on the ground Wednesday morning, be prepared for blizzard conditions even if it's not snowing. Near zero visibility is a very strong possibility. This is not a drill. This is not a maybe. This is extremely likely. Don't miss what I'm about to tell you next, because while the ground blizzard is happening in Iowa, something even more extreme is developing across the entire eastern half of the country. An Arctic blast so powerful, so record-breaking, it's going to redefine what cold means for millions of Americans. Let's talk about the jet stream, because everything that's about to happen, all the extreme cold, all the additional snow, it's all driven by what's happening 30,000 feet up in the atmosphere. Right now, we have a big dip in the jet stream across the Midwest. That dip is where the storm is forming. That's what's bringing the snow today. But tomorrow and Thursday, this jet stream is going to get even more intense. It's going to pull massive amounts of energy out of Canada and transport it down into the Midwest, the northern plains, and even down into the southeast by Thursday and Friday. And that's what's going to trigger a major Arctic blast. Not a minor cold snap, not a typical December chill, a major, historic Arctic blast. Friday and Saturday will easily be the coldest days of this entire week. Probably the coldest days of the entire month. Maybe the coldest days in years for some locations. We're going to see extreme cold where the jet stream winds are strongest. And that's primarily in the Midwest, the Great Lakes, the Ohio Valley, and across the Northeast. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. 3 days of brutal, dangerous, life-threatening cold. Eventually by Monday and Tuesday of next week, the jet stream will get a little bit weaker. The cold air will still be there. Northwesterly flow will keep it in place. But it won't be nearly as intense by Monday and Tuesday. If you're along the East Coast, though, expect this weather to stay pretty cold at least through Tuesday. And then by the middle and end of next week, things get a lot more uncertain. But here's what we know for sure. This weather pattern is already promoting very cold conditions. And on top of that, we have the threat of even more snowfall, multiple systems, multiple opportunities for snow, and all of it happening in a brutally cold air mass. Let me give you the numbers, because numbers don't lie, and these numbers are staggering. Thursday morning, we're going to have pretty cold air across Wisconsin and Minnesota. Many areas around 20 to 30 degrees below average. And this is just the appetizer. This is the warm-up act to the Arctic blast that's coming this weekend. Notice that on the West Coast, temperatures are very warm right now, all above average in the Rockies, and along the West Coast. The country is split, warm in the west, cold in the east, and that temperature contrast is going to intensify. By Friday and Saturday, Arctic air is going to be building across the northern plains in Canada, and it's going to unleash across the Midwest, the Ohio Valley, and the Northeast on Saturday and Sunday. Meanwhile, warm temperatures will continue across the South and the Southwest. The divide gets even more dramatic. Saturday and Sunday, that's when the coldest weather arrives. Sunday morning will be the coldest morning of the entire week, probably the coldest morning of the entire month. Honestly, this is going to be pretty crazy. By Sunday morning, we will have a widespread area from central Illinois all the way back up into Canada, where temperatures will be as much as 40 to 45 degrees below average. 40 to 45 degrees below average. Sub-zero temperatures all in play here Sunday morning. Let me put that in perspective. If the normal high for this time of year is 25 degrees, 45 degrees below average means you're looking at actual temperatures around -20, before wind chill. That's the actual air temperature. Monday and Tuesday, all that cold air is going to sink down to the south. It'll reach into areas like Alabama and Mississippi, but notice it won't be nearly as intense down there. About 10 degrees below average in the deep south, and then eventually by Tuesday and Wednesday, all that cold air is sitting across the East Coast and the Great Lakes before eventually moving out by Thursday and Friday. Right before Christmas, we could be talking about well above average temperatures across the Great Plains and all along the West Coast. But if you're in the Northeast, there's really not going to be any end in sight to the frigid weather, not for a while. Now let's get specific. Let's talk about actual temperatures. The numbers you're going to see on your thermometer. Because this is where it gets real. This is where you understand just how dangerous this cold is going to be. Saturday morning, low temperatures are forecasted to be anywhere from 0 to -30 degrees across areas like Minnesota, North Dakota, and almost all across Wisconsin. 0 to -30. And the freezing line, 32 degrees, that's going to be all the way down into the deep south. Sunday morning, it's not going to get much better. In fact, many areas on Saturday afternoon might not even make it out of negative temperatures. They'll stay below 0 all day, which is really crazy for this time of year. December is not always this cold across the northern plains and Midwest. This has been a very aggressive start to winter compared to previous years. Sunday morning, we're going to see widespread temperatures anywhere from 0 to -25 degrees, anywhere from Fargo all the way down toward Milwaukee. 0 to -25. That's actual air temperature. Monday and Tuesday, things will gradually start to improve, but there's really not going to be any end in sight to the sub-zero temperatures until at least around December 17th if you're in the Midwest. That's over a week of sustained brutal cold. Not just a day or two, a week or more. Get ready for some very cold weather ahead. And I haven't even talked about wind chill yet. Wind chill. The feel-like temperature. What it actually feels like on your skin when you factor in the wind. And this is where the numbers become truly frightening. Widespread areas across the Midwest, Ohio Valley, and Northern Plains will have sub-zero feel-like temperatures. Not just cold, sub-zero. Below 0. On Saturday morning, Sunday morning, it's not going to be much different. I wouldn't be surprised if we have a few areas near -50 for feel-like temperatures on Saturday morning, especially in northern Minnesota. -50 degrees. That's what it's going to feel like. And at -50, exposed skin can get frostbite in under 5 minutes. Under 5 minutes. That's how long you have outside before your skin starts to freeze. Before tissue damage begins. Before you're in serious medical danger. This is life-threatening cold. Not an exaggeration. Not hyperbole. Genuinely life-threatening. If you're in the affected areas, you need to prepare. Now. Today. Not tomorrow. Not later this week. Now. But wait, there's more snow coming. Because one winter storm isn't enough. This pattern is so active, so locked in, we're tracking multiple additional systems over the next several days. Late Wednesday into Thursday, this storm is going to crank into a big lake-effect snow event, especially in northwestern Michigan and back over near Watertown, New York. Those are the two key areas where significant snow is possible Wednesday into Thursday. Most of it coming from lake-effect snow. Lake effect happens when cold air moves over the relatively warm waters of the Great Lakes. The lake adds moisture and heat to the air. That air rises, and when it hits land on the downwind side of the lake, it dumps snow. Sometimes incredible amounts of snow in very localized areas. By late Thursday into early Friday, that lake effect snow will continue at least through Friday morning in those two areas. But we're also going to have more snow making its way across the Rockies into the central and northern plains. This could make a run at going into the Midwest and the Ohio Valley on Friday as a new winter weather event. In terms of total snowfall accumulation from the main storm, we're expecting widespread 5 to 10 inches anywhere in the purple zone on the forecast map. That goes from northern Minnesota back into northern Michigan. This also includes Green Bay and Wausau in Wisconsin. Minneapolis is very interesting. Minneapolis could easily see only a coating to almost nothing. Or you could see somewhere around 2 to 3 inches if you're on the northern side of the Minneapolis area. High variability. High uncertainty. But the potential is there. Milwaukee, we're only expecting a few inches of snow. Nothing crazy. Chicago, not expecting much in the way of snowfall at all from this system. But don't get comfortable in Chicago, because more is coming. As we go into late Wednesday and Thursday, the snowfall accumulation numbers will be increasing in northwestern Michigan as lake effect snow kicks in. We're likely going to see at least around a foot of snow when this event is all said and done. 12 inches. 1 foot. That's significant. Back near Lake Erie, we'll likely see around 6 to 12 inches of snow, and in the northeast, this is where snowfall totals could be really crazy. Back near Watertown, New York, with those lake effect snow bands setting up, we could see upwards of 12 to 18 inches of snowfall. Very significant snow is on the way for many locations. Another concern with this winter storm is the risk of ice. We're not expecting a major ice storm by any means, but get ready for at least a glazing of ice in parts of central Michigan, from northern Illinois back into southern Wisconsin, and areas like North Dakota. If you're in North Dakota this morning, that's actually where 1/10 of an inch of ice is a lot more likely. The farther south and east you go, the less ice will be happening. But even a glaze of ice, even a thin coating, that's enough to make roads extremely dangerous, especially bridges and overpasses. Now, let me circle back to something I mentioned earlier that deserves more attention, because this might be the most dangerous aspect of this entire weather event: the ground blizzards on Wednesday morning. This is very windy weather we're talking about across the Midwest tonight and tomorrow morning. And one of the biggest reasons this is so concerning is because we already have a lot of snow on the ground outside of where we're going to see new snow tonight. If you're in Iowa, Illinois, northern Missouri, or Nebraska, and there's still snow actively on the ground from previous storms, Wednesday morning could be extremely hazardous on the roadways. We could have blizzard-like conditions all across Iowa with wind gusts widespread between 50 to 70 miles per hour. Let me be very clear about what this means. 70-mile-per-hour winds across snow-covered ground creates a wall of snow in the air. Visibility drops to 0. Not low visibility. 0. You cannot see the hood of your car. You cannot see the road. You cannot see if you're about to drive off the road or into another vehicle. And it happens suddenly. One moment you can see fine, the next moment you're in a complete whiteout. This catches drivers off guard every single winter. And every single winter, it causes massive pileups, multi-vehicle accidents, fatalities. Wednesday morning, if you're in Iowa, if you're anywhere in the Midwest with snow on the ground, do not drive unless absolutely necessary. And if you must drive, understand that conditions can deteriorate from clear to whiteout in seconds. Be prepared to pull over immediately. Be prepared to stop. Be prepared for the worst. Near zero visibility is a very strong possibility. This is something that happens every winter, but it's not talked about enough, so I'm talking about it. I'm warning you, because knowledge saves lives. Preparation saves lives. Beyond this winter storm, we're going to see additional snowfall as we go into Thursday and Friday. More energy is coming over the northern Rockies. All of it from an atmospheric river event in the Pacific Northwest that's already dumping a lot of rain and snow out there, and that energy is going to make its way into the northern plains on Thursday. However, there's going to be a lot of dry and sinking air across the Midwest and northern plains, so I don't think we're going to see a full-blown winter storm form from this system. But there will be some light snowfall Thursday into Friday that makes its way into the Ohio Valley, could reach around 1 to 3 inches in some spots. By late Friday and Saturday, a little bit more snow is going to try to shoot into the northern plains and the Midwest. That'll be mostly for Iowa, Minnesota, perhaps even near Chicago, Indiana, and Ohio Saturday afternoon. Overall, not expecting much. Maybe 1 to 3 inches of snow out of that as well. But here's the thing. When you stack these systems back to back to back, when you add 1 to 3 inches on top of 5 to 10 inches on top of the snow that's already there, suddenly you're looking at significant total accumulation. Suddenly driveways can't be cleared. Roofs are stressed under the weight. Snow removal becomes a major challenge. By Sunday and Monday of next week, things get a lot more uncertain, but as the Arctic blast fills in, we're likely going to see a large high-pressure system form. And with all these pressure changes happening over the next several days, you could experience some headaches on Sunday and Monday with how strong the high-pressure system will be. That's not a joke. Rapid pressure changes can trigger headaches and migraines in people who are sensitive to barometric pressure, and this is going to be a significant pressure change. From low-pressure storm systems to very high-pressure Arctic air mass, the swing is going to be dramatic. Beyond all of this, things get uncertain. Right before Christmas, I'm not eyeing any major winter storms as of right now, but that can always change. Weather patterns evolve. What looks quiet today could look active tomorrow, so we'll continue to monitor. Now let me give you the action plan, the specific steps you need to take based on where you live and what's coming your way. If you're in North Dakota or northern South Dakota, you're dealing with freezing rain right now this morning. That means roads are icing over as we speak. If you can delay travel, do it. If you can't, drive extremely slowly. Increase following distance to at least double normal. And be especially careful on bridges and overpasses where ice forms first. If you're in Minnesota, particularly the Twin Cities, you've got a complex situation. Freezing rain this afternoon and evening. Maybe a transition to snow for northern suburbs. Either way, evening commute is going to be a mess. If you can leave work early, do it. Get home before the worst of it hits around 5 to 7 p.m. If you're in Wisconsin, anywhere from Wausau to Green Bay to Milwaukee to northern areas, you're getting hit with heavy snow tonight. 3 inches per hour snowfall rates are possible. That means by the time you wake up tomorrow morning, you could have 6 to 12 inches on the ground. Plan on extra time tomorrow morning for snow removal. Plan on slow travel, and make sure you have food and supplies at home in case you can't get out tomorrow. If you're in Michigan, you've got snow overnight tonight, and then lake effect snow Wednesday into Friday. Northwestern Michigan, you could see a foot or more of snow. Upper Peninsula, similar totals. Regular snow plus lake effect stacking up. If you live in the lake effect belts, you know the drill, but this is going to be a significant event even by your standards. If you're in Iowa, Illinois, northern Missouri, or Nebraska, your big threat is Wednesday morning. Ground blizzards. Winds 50 to 70 miles per hour across snow-covered ground. Do not travel Wednesday morning if you can avoid it. If you must travel, have an emergency kit in your car. Blankets, water, snacks, phone charger. Because if you get stuck in a whiteout, help might not reach you for hours. If you're in the Ohio Valley or Northeast, you've got light to moderate snow Wednesday, then lake effect in the typical spots, and then brutal cold for the weekend. Your main threat is the temperature. Make sure your heating system is working. Make sure you have backup heat if possible. Check on elderly neighbors. Bring pets inside. This cold is dangerous. For everyone in the Midwest, Northern Plains, Great Lakes, and Northeast, the Arctic blast is your biggest challenge. Here's what you need to do right now to prepare. 1. Winterize your home. Let faucets drip when temperatures drop below zero. Open cabinet doors under sinks to let warm air circulate around pipes. Know where your main water shutoff is in case a pipe bursts. 2. Check your heating system. When was the last time you changed your furnace filter? Do you have a backup heat source if your furnace fails? Do you have carbon monoxide detectors with fresh batteries? When it's -30 outside, a heating system failure becomes a life-threatening emergency. 3. Prepare your vehicle. Get your battery tested. Batteries lose 60% of their strength in extreme cold. If your battery is more than 3 years old, it might not start in -20-degree temperatures. Make sure your antifreeze is rated for at least -35 degrees. Keep your gas tank at least half full to prevent fuel line freeze-ups. 4. Stock up on supplies. You should have at least 3 days of food and water at home. Not because we're expecting you to be snowed in for 3 days, but because if you lose power, if your vehicle won't start, if roads become impassable, you need to be self-sufficient. 5. Check on vulnerable people. Elderly neighbors, relatives who live alone, anyone with medical conditions. Make sure they're prepared. Make sure they have heat, food, medicine. Make sure someone is checking on them daily during this cold snap. 6. Know the signs of frostbite and hypothermia. Frostbite starts with numbness and white or pale skin. If you see this, get inside immediately and warm the affected area gradually. Hypothermia starts with shivering, then progresses to confusion, slurred speech, and loss of coordination. If you see these signs, call 911 immediately. 7. Dress in layers if you must go outside. Multiple thin layers trap air and insulate better than one thick layer. Cover all exposed skin. At -50 wind chill, exposed skin can freeze in under 5 minutes. 8. Never use outdoor equipment indoors. Generators, propane heaters, charcoal grills, they all produce carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide is invisible, odorless, and deadly. These items must be used outside only, at least 20 feet from windows and doors. Here's something most people don't think about until it's too late. Your smartphone. In extreme cold, phone batteries drain incredibly fast. Your phone might show 50% charge indoors, but the moment you step outside in -20-degree temperatures, that battery could die within minutes. Keep your phone close to your body to keep it warm. Have a car charger. Have a portable battery pack, because your phone is your lifeline in an emergency. If you slide off the road, if your car won't start, if you need help, you need that phone working. Let me paint you a scenario. It's Wednesday morning. You're driving on I-80 through Iowa. It's not snowing. Sky is partly cloudy. Visibility is fine. You're making good time. And then, without warning, you drive into a ground blizzard. Suddenly, you can't see. You hit the brakes. Bad idea. You start to slide. There are other cars around you somewhere, but you can't see them. You're disoriented. Which way is the road? Where are the lane markers? Are you still on the highway, or have you drifted onto the shoulder? This scenario plays out dozens of times every winter, sometimes hundreds of times, and it often ends badly. Multi-vehicle pileups, cars in ditches, people getting out of their vehicles in whiteout conditions and getting hit by other vehicles they couldn't see. If you find yourself in a ground blizzard, here's what you do. First, do not panic. Second, slow down gradually. Don't slam on brakes. Third, turn on your hazard lights. Fourth, if you can see well enough to drive slowly, get off the highway at the next exit. Fifth, if you can't see at all, carefully pull as far onto the shoulder as you can. Stay in your vehicle, keep your seatbelt on, and wait for conditions to improve. Do not get out of your vehicle unless it's on fire or you're certain you can see a building nearby. People die every year because they get out of their vehicle in whiteout conditions and get hit by other vehicles or become disoriented and freeze to death. Now, let's talk about what happens after this week. Because this Arctic blast, while historic, is not permanent. Eventually the pattern will shift. But when? And what comes next? Based on current models, the extreme cold will peak on Sunday morning. That's the coldest moment. After that, Monday and Tuesday will still be very cold, but not quite as extreme. The jet stream weakens a bit. The Arctic air mass starts to modify slightly, still well below normal, but not record-breaking anymore. By the middle of next week, things get murky. Models are showing a lot of uncertainty. Some suggest the cold continues into the week before Christmas. Others show a rapid warm-up, especially out west. The truth is probably somewhere in between. What I can tell you with confidence is that the Northeast is likely to stay cold longer than other areas. The pattern just doesn't favor warmth in the Northeast for the foreseeable future. If you're in New England, if you're in upstate New York, prepare for sustained cold through at least December 17th, possibly longer. Right before Christmas, we could see well above average temperatures across the Great Plains and West Coast. That ridge I mentioned earlier, it's going to build and strengthen. That brings warmth to the western half of the country, but the eastern half? Still up for debate. As of right now, I'm not seeing any major winter storms on the horizon for the Christmas week. But that can change. Weather patterns 3 weeks out are notoriously difficult to forecast. Small changes in the jet stream pattern can mean the difference between a quiet Christmas and a major snowstorm. Here's what I'm watching. If the Arctic air mass retreats but doesn't completely leave, if we get a strong storm system moving up the east coast, we could be looking at a Christmas storm. Cold air in place, moisture from the Atlantic, the ingredients would be there. But it's too early to call. Check back for updates. Let me recap the critical timeline one more time because this information could save your life. Today, right now, freezing rain in the Dakotas, snow ramping up across Minnesota and the Great Lakes, heavy snow tonight across Wisconsin, 3 inches per hour snowfall rates possible, freezing rain near Minneapolis creating dangerous evening commute. Tonight, heavy snow continues across Wisconsin and Michigan, ice accumulation in parts of Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Illinois, power outage risk from ice on lines. Wednesday morning, Ground blizzard threat across Iowa and Illinois. 50 to 70 mile-per-hour winds. Near zero visibility possible even without snow falling. Extremely dangerous travel conditions. Wednesday into Thursday. Lake effect snow cranks up in northwestern Michigan and Watertown, New York. 12 to 18 inches possible in favored areas. Thursday. Arctic blast begins. Temperatures start dropping dramatically. Friday and Saturday. Peak cold. 20 to 30 degrees below average widespread. -30 actual temperatures in northern areas. -50 wind chills. Life-threatening cold. Coldest of the season. Probably coldest of the month. Sunday morning. Coldest moment of the entire event. 40 to 45 degrees below average from central Illinois to Canada. Widespread sub-zero temperatures. Frostbite in under 5 minutes. Monday and Tuesday. Cold begins to moderate slightly but remains well below normal. Sub-zero temperatures continue in Midwest until at least December 17th. This is the timeline. This is what's coming. You've been warned. You've been informed. Now you need to act. Because knowing what's coming doesn't help if you don't prepare. Here's the forecast I couldn't give you earlier, the one that's still uncertain but you need to know about. There's a possibility, not a certainty, but a possibility, that we see another significant winter storm around December 20th to 22nd, right before Christmas. Why? Because that Arctic air mass, even as it moderates, it's not leaving completely. It's going to sag into the east coast and sit there. And if we get a storm system tracking up the coast at just the right time with just the right amount of moisture, we could be looking at a major nor'easter. I'm not forecasting that yet. It's too far out. Models aren't consistent. But the pattern is there. The potential is there. And given how active this December has been, it wouldn't surprise me at all. So what do you do with that information? You stay prepared. You don't let your guard down after this weekend. You keep supplies stocked. You keep checking forecasts. Because winter is just getting started, and this pattern suggests we're in for an active season. One more thing before we wrap up. I need to address the bigger picture. Why is this happening? Why is this December so much colder and snowier than recent years? The jet stream pattern. That's the answer. The jet stream has taken on a configuration that promotes Arctic outbreaks into the eastern U.S. We have strong ridging, high pressure, over the western U.S. and Alaska. That forces the jet stream to dip sharply over the central and eastern U.S. And when the jet stream dips, cold air follows. This pattern can persist for weeks or even months once it sets up, and right now, there's nothing in the long-range models suggesting it's going to break down anytime soon, which means more cold, more snow, more active winter weather for the foreseeable future. This is the winter that people in the northern tier have been waiting for. If you love winter weather, if you love snow, this is your season. But it's also dangerous, it's also challenging, and it requires respect and preparation. Stay safe out there, stay warm, stay informed, and remember, weather like this is serious. It's not something to take lightly, it's not something to ignore. Lives are at stake. Your life might be at stake if you're not prepared. The next update is going to be critical. I'll have refined forecasts for the Christmas week pattern. I'll have updates on that potential nor'easter. And I'll have information on what January might bring because if this pattern holds, January could be even more active than December. You need to see that next forecast. Because what's happening now is just the beginning. This winter is just getting started. And if the pattern holds, we could be looking at one of the most active winters in recent memory. So here's what you do right now. Finalize your preparations for this week's Arctic blast. Stock up, winterize, prepare. Check on vulnerable people. Have backup plans for everything. Because starting tonight, conditions deteriorate rapidly. And by this weekend, we're in the deep freeze. Don't wait. Don't delay. Don't assume you'll be fine. Because this is serious weather. This is dangerous weather. This is the kind of weather that kills unprepared people. You've been warned. You've been informed. You know what's coming. Now act, prepare, survive. And we'll see you on the other side of this Arctic blast with updates on what comes next. Stay safe, stay prepared, and whatever you do, do not underestimate this cold, because at -50 wind chill, you're 5 minutes from frostbite, 5 minutes from danger, 5 minutes from a life-threatening emergency. The ground blizzards are coming, the Arctic blast is coming, the record cold is coming. Ready or not, winter has arrived with a vengeance, and there's no stopping what's already in motion.